Okay, we'll get started. Welcome. This is Mary Kovach from Erie One BOCES Winnierick. And today we are going to be talking about Google Tour Builder. Now, if you're viewing this session live, you'll see a link at the top of the screen right now that you can go to if you wanted to ask questions during the live session. And the address is goo.gl/slides because we're in Google Slides, and then /KEW3XR. Okay, and then if you have questions after the fact, if you're viewing the video at a different time, then you can also go back to one of our online platforms, to the discussion area, or add comments, and I will show you how to do that at the end of the webinar. So what is Google Tour Builder? And this is just from the Tour Builder website. So Tour Builder is a new way to show people the places you visited and experiences you have had along the way using Google Earth. So it lets you pick locations on the map, add in photos, text, videos, and then share your creations with others. So the reason that Tour Builder was created in the first place is to give veterans or active military service people a way to record the places where they've been in their service, to preserve their stories and their memories for future generations, and also as a way to sort of show people in their families or friends the places where they are currently and show that on a map. Now, of course, education, other industries also took this as a useful tool for anyone with either a story to tell or with something to teach, something where you're dealing with places, different landscapes, landmarks. Also, we'll look at some examples in literature as well, because again, a lot of literature has some places as their backdrop that maybe students would need some background knowledge into. Okay, so first we'll take a look at some examples of some interactive maps that are in Tour Builder. And these are actually linked from the Tour Builder gallery. So if I click here, you can see there are some examples that they've put up here. And I'll show a couple of those. So the first one is actually an underwater street view tour, which sounds kind of interesting because in Google Earth, they also have Google Oceans. So oceans, and in some cases, underwater camera work is included. So as I kind of go through, you can see on the map, I have some different place marks. I'm going to click next, or I can click on the place marks along the left side of my screen. And then you can see for a lot of my locations, I might have some pictures that I can click on to zoom in. Go to my next area here. So for some of these, it's actually set to go to the street view or to actually go underwater. So some of these might be a panoramic picture that I can go to. And as I go through, we'll see a few examples that are underwater as well. And you can have any combination of up to 25 pictures or videos for any of the place marks that you create. So you see this one is a panoramic. Or I can kind of scroll forward, and these are shallow waters, as you see. Then if I click next, so you can see I have some more locations. And some of these will actually have some underwater as well. So you see this one here. It's a little bit deeper water, and I can explore that area underwater. So kind of giving the feeling of actually being there. So if someone goes on a great tour to some of these areas, then they can give you that feel as if you're there, maybe without the warmth, but still that feel that you were there. Okay, Another example here that they have in their gallery is from a social studies teacher at the high school level. And this deals with background information leading up to the Revolutionary War, the War for Independence. So you can see that in this case, the teacher has put different colored place marks. So blue for colonial victories, different battle sites, red for British victories, and green where it was a draw. And also white place marks when there were significant events that happened there. Okay, so starting in London. And as you see along the way, as I go to each place mark, and it is linear, they go in a certain order, similar to what you might see in Google Slides. This teacher is actually asking students some questions along the way as well. So giving some background information for students. Some images. Maybe ask students who the individuals are in that portrait. Some other historical drawings. And you can see in here as well, some reenactors. So some of these place marks actually have some reenactment scenes as well. So going through the progress of the Revolutionary War. So giving students some background knowledge into that. And asking them some questions along the way. So those are two examples from the Tour Builder Gallery. Some other examples that I have here are from a site called googlelittrips.org. So this is especially for teachers who are teaching specific works of literature. But the strategies that are used here, you could also use in Tour Builder to create your own tours. Now, with this site, it is free, but they do ask that if you're going to request any of these tours to have access to, that you sign up on the left-hand side here under the member registration. Okay. And then once you sign up here on the left-hand side, you can click on Request a Lit Trip. And so you would just have to put in your email address, select the title that you would like, and you can scroll through and see all the books that they have. So I'll show you some of those examples that they have that are actually in Tour Builder in this platform online. So the first one here is Big Anthony by Tomie dePaola. So it's taking a look at this character who goes through Italy and influences several historic places. And also you can see in here there are some links out to, for example, the author's website. So I can click there to find out more about his works, and then click the back arrow to get back to my tour. And also you can see there's an example here where a video is embedded to teach students about the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And I won't play the whole video, but I could always play that one full screen as well. So you can have a combination of images to help students, some text to give them background knowledge, and some videos. Okay, now this is kind of interesting. In Firenze, if I go to this location, this is a video from Rick Steves' Europe. But another interesting feature is if I go up to my upper right and I choose Open in Earth, this actually allows me to take this out to Google Earth on the web, which adds some extra three-dimensional features to it. Okay, so here I have my place marks. Okay, so now it kind of gives me that flying feature. But notice too, when I go into Google Earth on the web, I have some three-dimensional buildings as well. So you can see now in here, if I fly over, these are a number of different three-dimensional buildings, and I can zoom in really to almost street level. So these are, I guess, three-dimensional models that have been put in normally through a program through Google for 3D building. Okay, so then if I close out of here, I can get back to my tour. I'm going to leave here. And the site that's used to create those 3D buildings usually is Google SketchUp. So sometimes if you go out from the tour, if you go out to open in Google Earth, you can get some of those additional features as well. Okay. Oops, we'll look at that story in a minute. Just a few other examples from Google Lit Trips. Their Eyes Were Watching God is one of the high school examples. So again, this teacher gets into, for the introduction, into Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how that relates to Janie. And then for each place mark, goes to the different places where Janie lived throughout her life. And she gives students some discussion questions. So this could also be something where you create an activity for students and you have some discussion questions that they maybe need to answer in a Google Doc and then submit to you as well. And of course, my last example here, Make Way for Ducklings. Okay, so exploring different areas in the same city. So just to show that it could be a tour that spans locations around the whole world, or it could be going to very specific locations in one city. So you can see here, brings me to Beacon Hill. Now, just as with any Google Maps or with Google Earth, I can click on this little orange person and drag him to different places on a map. And obviously now this is Beacon Hill today. And then I can exit the street view. But you do have that ability as well. And within your tours, you can lock it, kind of like it did with the underwater. You can lock it so that the viewer goes right to either that street view or whatever altitude you would choose. And just some other locations here. And the pictures, you don't necessarily need to already have them downloaded. You can do a Google search for, let's say, copyright-friendly images that you can use and just link them right into your tour. Okay. So now I'm going to walk through for you how you can create a tour. So the website is tourbuilder.withgoogle.com. And some of their projects that are with Google just means that they're new sort of projects that have been in beta and they're still being tested out there in different markets. Like I said, initially, this was created for military service people or veterans. Certainly, it's a project that has gone well beyond that. Okay, let me just check my Q&A here. Okay, make sure we're still on, ready to go. Okay. So now you will need to sign in with your Google account. If you're already in your Chrome browser, once you click sign in, it should automatically take you there. So you can see if I clicked sign in here, since I'm already in my Google account, as long as it shows your email address here in the upper right, that means you're signed into Tour Builder. Okay, and then once you're here, to create your first tour, you would click on Create a Tour. Okay, and I'll create that in a second. Now, once you have already created some tours, you want to come back to the tours that you already have, you would click on My Tours near the upper left. Now notice that I have My Tours and also Shared Tours, because you can share these with others in the same way that you may share a Google Doc. You can share it for viewing, not necessarily editing, but you can share your tours for others to view. But if I click My Tours, I can get back to any of the tours that I've already created. So for the tour that we will create part of today, I already have a few examples that I've used. It's for a book called How to Make an Apple Pie and See the World. So to edit any of your particular tours, you could click on this drop down and then click Edit. So there's a little drop down next to the title of your tour, and then you would click Edit to get in to edit your tour. Okay. Now, to share the tours that you have, let me click Done Editing. So you have to get out of your editing mode, click Done Editing, and then you'll see a blue Share button. Okay, and as I mentioned, there are a couple ways that you can share. You can share via a link. So let's say that you just wanted to share the link out. Send that through an email. By default, it's going to be private, just to you. But you can change that to say anyone who has the link can view it. So that way, if you're sharing it with students, you would want to copy the link that's here, maybe post that to your Google Classroom or to your website, however you would share links with students. You also have the option to invite specific people. So I could enter in my Lancaster self here, and then click Share and Save, and then it's going to be shared with that person. Now it says Can View. The only thing about Tour Builder is you can't share a tour for others to edit as well. It has to be a tour that the other person can view. But you can't, let's say in a Google Doc, you can edit simultaneously. That's not something that you can do in Tour Builder. But then from within there, if I go to my other account here, let's say, and I go to my Tour Builder, withgoogle.com. Well, I'd have to go to my other browser to type that in. But you would see if I go back here, you would see that within your shared tours. So these are just some tours that other people have shared with me. So now you see these, I have the ability to view the tour. I can export it, and then I could import it back into my own separate tour, sort of like making a copy. But I can't edit the tours that someone else has created. So now what I'll do is start from the beginning, creating a tour through Google Tour Builder. And then we'll talk about some of the other advanced options that you can do as well. So the book that we'll look at today is How to Make an Apple Pie and See the World by Marjorie Priceman. So in case you're not familiar with the book, this girl wants to make an apple pie. It's very easy. You have to go to the market and get the ingredients. But if the market is closed, what do? You have to travel around the world to get these very best ingredients. So as you can see, first, she hops a steamship bound for Europe. And we are going to the Italian countryside. So this will be our first location. So from Tour Builder, I'm going to click Create a Tour. I'll call that How to Make an Apple Pie and See the World. Okay, and I'll put my Naaman as Mrs. Kovach. And then click Create Tour. Okay, now the first thing that it brings you to is the introduction. So the introduction isn't necessarily tied to a location. Those we're going to add later. But if I want to, I can add a photo. Now, if you already have a picture, you could certainly upload it. But I think probably the easier way is to search for images. So I'm going to search for apple pie. Click on the search button. And it will say results shown are labeled for commercial reuse. So again, that's actually one level higher as far as being eased on copyright than we need, because for education, we actually are looking for things that for non-commercial uses, we can reuse pictures. Still always a good idea to, when you click on the picture, note the address here, and then keep that so that you can cite that in your presentation. So I'll copy that link address, click on the picture of the apple pie I want, and then click select. Okay, so I can say, want to make an apple pie. Say, take a trip around the world for free. I'm just going to put my image link here that I had copied. I'm just going to paste that in. Now, if I wanted to, I could also make that a hyperlink, because you can see in the editor here, I have some basic formatting I can do, making text bold, italicized, or underlined. I can also add in a link. And I like to have the links open in a new window. I like to keep this option checked. So you can see right now then, it goes right to that web address. So they could see the image on the web. You can add in bullets or numbers. You can add in indents. And this last button removes any formatting that you already had. So again, if it was bold, italicized, it would take that formatting away. I like to keep it on Story 3D. So the story is kind of that linear. So let's say it was a book or events in history leading up to something. And the 3D will then allow you to, once you go out to Google Earth, do sort of those flyover effects, do the three-dimensional buildings as we saw in Firenze. And the hub, this would be something that maybe there's one central location and there are places kind of branched off from there. So I'm going to keep it as Story 3D. And the path color. So the path color is if you wanted to trace your steps. So then you would have a line between your different locations. And I guess that's really the big difference between the story and sort of that hub on here. Okay, so I'll choose my path color. Maybe something a little bit bright, but not too bright. Let's say I'll choose this color. So under the advanced options, I can choose whether or not I want to show borders and labels, so national borders, state borders, and labels, or whether I want to show roads. So again, if I click on roads, now I can see all the major US highways. If that's a little too busy, I can uncheck that. But again, maybe in some cases, that's what you would want to show. Okay, and also, if it was, let's say, a tour someone else had created and you downloaded it, you could add those place marks back into your tour. So it's kind of like then you are making a copy of that person's tour and making it your own by adding your own elements. Okay, now when you're working in Tour Builder, as with other Google applications, as with most Google applications, it saves automatically. At the top of the page, you'll see it says tour saved at 4:09. Now, you can press save as you go. just in case you're worried that you might lose the internet at any second. You can always press save as many times as you'd like. But as long as you keep your internet connection, it will save automatically. So now we're going to add in our first place mark. So to do that, I'm going to click on the left-hand side where it says add a location. Okay. So now I'm going to type in, I can type in Italy. I'm going to fly there. Oh. Let's see. Okay. It's going to fly over there. Now also, I can scroll in a little more. Maybe I want to be in Florence. I can zoom in using the plus here. So say I wanted to find someplace in the Italian countryside. Or maybe I want to go up north, let's say. Maybe I'll search for Abruzzo in Italy. Okay. So now I can add a place mark to my tour. Okay. So now if I needed to drag the place mark a little bit, I could certainly do that. If it's not exactly where I want it to be, I can zoom in and I can drag that. Now for the place marks, I can actually add up to either 25 photos or videos. So if I click here, the same process that I went through for my introduction. Only now I have to go to more and I can search for images. Because now I have the option to either search for images or I can search for a YouTube video. So I'm going to choose from my more, search for images, and I'm going to choose Semolina week because that's what we're getting here. Do a search. And here, maybe I want more images than just a few, so I can click on as many as I want. So maybe I want to see Semolina in its ground format. Maybe I want to see it in its original format. And then click select. So now, if I click on my magnifying glass here, I can use the arrows on either side of the pictures to go through them. And then even if I wanted to, I could give them a title and a description. This is what makes pasta and pie, let's say. Now, the only time you would have to click save is a lot of times when you're doing the images in here, it will pop up here and it won't save right away. Again, eventually it will save, but I find that option more often comes up when you're editing the captions for the pictures and videos. But not to worry, it will save automatically as long as you have your internet. And then click close to get back to your tour builder. So another option that you have for your locations, you can add start and end dates. So what this does is, let's say that you were creating this as a unit for students. Maybe it's chapters in a book, different topics that are location based, and you only want certain ones to show at a time. You can set those start and end times to here as well. In this case, I want it to be available all the time. But again, maybe it's something that sort of gives away part of a book and you don't want it to start until a certain date. And when you do that, then it won't show for others until that start month, day, and year. If it's a year in the future, let's say. Okay. So now I can type in some background for this. I can say, take a boat to Italy and get some wheat for semolina flour. Okay. I can always add in some more options here. So I can also search for YouTube videos. Semolina flour. Let's do a search. And then maybe I can find a video of how to make semolina flour. Okay. And now I would have to put it in there and decide if I like that. So again, if it's a video that I don't want in here, for the videos it does bring in the descriptions. Okay, so maybe if I don't want this in Italian, close. If there's ever a picture video that you don't want, you can scroll through. And then here, click on the little trash can. Okay. Now I do have the option to change my icon, so I'm going to click here. And so let's say that I want to use the fork and knife instead. So that's one option. And then through some of the other place marks, I'll show you some other options that you have. So you can choose from any of their preset ones. And also we'll talk about how you can add in your own custom icons as well. Okay, and again, the advanced options are if you already had files from Google Earth or something that you downloaded from someone else's tour builder, you could add that in. Okay, so go back to our story. And now we need to go to France to find a chicken for some nice egg wash. Okay, so now let me go back to my tour. I'm going to click add a location again from the left-hand side. I'm going to search for, let's say, Provence, France. Click on their suggestion. And then click add to tour. Okay, so again, I could add in photos or videos. So I could type in French hen, eggs, let's say. Okay. I can click on a video and then click select. Click on the plus to add more. Let's say that I wanted to put an image in here. I could search for French hen and click select. Okay. And again, I could put in some text here to say, travel to France for some eggs. They are the best chickens. Okay. Now, in the icon now, let's say that I wanted a chicken or an egg even, let's say, but I don't really have one here. The other option is you can use a custom icon. So when I click on my presentation here, I'm just going to go to the next slide. Now we talked about this already. For the enhanced viewing, you would go to Open in Earth. Now this serves as a tutorial, certainly, but there's also, if you go back to the presentation, a self-paced tutorial through Google that you can do as well. Okay, so some additional placemark images. A couple of places that I like to use. The first one is Google Images. So when you're putting an image into your tour builder, it actually has to be an image that already exists someplace online. So it's going to have to be an image that starts with HTTP, and it would end with something like a .jpg for a JPEG image or a .png for a portable network graphic image. So what I'm going to do is go to Google Images, and this is one of the strategies. French hen. All right, actually, I'll just type in hens, might be easier. Okay, so here's a bunch of hens. But what you want to do is filter for the ones that you can use. So I'm going to click on my Tools button and then go to the usage rights. And I want to say labeled for non-commercial reuse. Okay. And also, since you want the place mark image to be very small, I'm also going to go to where it says size, and I'm going to choose the icon size. So you can see it brings up just my one little lone chicken here, or hen. Maybe if I search for chicken, we'll bring up some more. Okay. So let me take this little chicken here. So I'm going to click on it. And then what you want to do after you click on that thumbnail is click the View Image button. And so this link at the top of the page, you can see it starts with HTTP. Okay, and then if I scroll all the way to the end, it has a .png. So I would have to triple click to select this, and then I can right click and copy that whole link. And I'm going to go back to my tour, click in this box, and then I'm just going to paste that in. And then what's going to happen is it's going to pull in that little chicken image. So there's my chicken. As I zoom out, though, you can see how big the chicken is on the map. So obviously, it's going to look a lot smaller once you zoom in closer to the location. Excuse me. So the other way is through Open Clip Art. So when I go to my next location, I'm going to show you that. Okay, so we have our chickens here. Actually, first, let's see. We'll go to Sri Lanka, and we're going to get some cinnamon. So let me put that one in first. Okay, so I'm going to click Add a Location and type in Sri Lanka. Okay, and click Add to Tour. Okay, so again, this is one where we want to get some sea salt, so maybe we want to move it someplace closer to the shore here. Now, not all locations are going to have Street View, but you can see that's actually pretty good in my Street View here. Get right down to the coast in Sri Lanka. Now, if I wanted it to go right to this view, as opposed to being the satellite view, what I could do from here is click here on the right-hand side, click Lock This View. So that means that when the viewer goes into the tour and they click on your place mark, or they click Next to go to the next place mark, it's going to zoom them in to this particular view by default. Not that they couldn't change that, but it's going to zoom into that view. So I'll say here, get some seawater for salt. Okay, so now our next location here, and I'm just going to do the one more, and then I'll talk about, again, how you can share your files. Oops. Too many here. You can see we have a cow. So now we need to go all the way back to England. Why we didn't stop there before we went to Sri Lanka, I don't know. Just for some fun, I guess. So now we are going to hitch a ride to England and meet a cow. And actually, I like the Guernsey cows. So I'm actually going to fly to Guernsey. So I'm going to click Add a Location. And I'm going to type in Guernsey. Okay, it's going to fly me all the way back over here. So you can see this is actually an island off the coast of England, actually pretty close to France here. And I'm going to find a Guernsey cow. So I'm going to click Add to Tour. search for Guernsey cow. Let's say I'm going to put in my picture here. I'm going to search. Okay. Maybe I want to add a video as well. Search for my Guernsey cow. Milking a Guernsey cow, Guernsey girls, and click select. So I can say, hitch a ride to Guernsey for some great Guernsey cow's milk. Okay, so now I want to get a cow icon. So again, if I don't see one here, I can choose a horse. It's kind of close. The other site that I have in the slides for this webinar is openclipart.org. So again, this is one where you can find images that are copyright friendly that you can use in your presentation. Okay, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to search for cow. Maybe I can't find a Guernsey one. At first I thought this said holy cow. It says holly cow, so it's Holly the cow. But I think the one I will go to, I could use the happy cow. Oh, maybe I'll choose this cow right here. Or, no, you know what? Let's see. I will choose my happy cow here. I like my happy cow. Okay, so from here, what I would need to do is go down to the PNG because I want this version of the image. So instead of actually clicking on it here, I could do that, or I could right click right from here and choose copy link address. So I could either right click and copy the link address from here, or if I click PNG, I'm going to copy this address and then go back to my tour. Okay, so now I'm going to paste that in, but what I want is just to make one little change in here, and I did mention that in the slides as well. 800 pixels would be pretty big on your screen, so if you were zooming into it, you may not see any of the landscape that's there. So I'm just going to change that from 800 px to 100 px and click OK. And there's my little cow, as opposed to a big cow. And then as I zoom in more, you can see that my cow isn't really as much in the way. Okay, so those are two ways if you wanted to kind of get some extra place mark images in that you could do that. So if we're done with our tour, which actually there are more locations in the book, but I won't show the rest of it. We'll let you be surprised. Check out the book from your local library. I'm going to click Done Editing near the upper right. Okay, and then I can take a look and see how my tour is so far. So again, click on my introduction. Click next to go to my locations. Okay, and now my Sri Lanka. You can see it's going to keep zooming in until I get to that street view. And then all the way back. And again, if you choose to open that up in Earth, oh, first let me, I have to click anyone who has the link. So again, to open it in Earth, I would actually have to share that. Okay, oh, well now I'm getting a pop-up blocked here. I always want to allow my pop-ups. So maybe take a note of that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what I kind of like too about seeing it in Google Earth is that I can fly to my different locations. So you can see now I'm flying to Abruzzo just by double clicking on these place marks. So for me, that's kind of a fun feature that you have within Google Earth. So now I'm going to close out of here. So those are the two ways that I can see that. I'm going to leave here. Okay. So now if I want to share my tour, click the blue share button. And again, in order to view it in Earth, I actually had to set the access so that anyone who has the link can view. Now, that doesn't mean that people can go and search for your tour. If you want it just private to your students, you're going to share the link in your Google Classroom, then that's fine. If you are not done with your tour, you can always go back and change it to private. Or you can invite just specific people to view that. I like to keep it as anyone who has the link can view, so I can go back and forth, see it in Google Earth. And again, I can invite specific people here and then click share and save. So just remember that those people won't necessarily be able to edit your presentation. They will just be able to view that. Okay, so that is Google Tour Builder. Let me just check for a second here. Go back to my presentation here. Make sure I don't have any other questions. And again, if you have questions after the fact, I'm going to show you now where you can ask those questions and also how you can access the quiz for this webinar. So in order to receive the PD credit, you would need a secret code as well to enter into a very brief quiz. Okay, so right now I'm just going to, let's say, start a new Google Doc, and I'm just going to put the secret code on the screen here for you. So make that a little bit bigger. So no spaces or capitals. The secret code is build with Google. Because again, we're building tours and it's under that with Google domain. So again, our secret code, oh, nope, no capitals though. Darn autocorrect. It's all lowercase. Our secret code is build with Google. Okay, so if you are viewing the webinar through the One UREC Online Academy platform, so if you're watching the video, you've already made it here. This is also where you can access the quiz. So once you've visited the webinar video, you will also be able to access the webinar quiz. So you can click on the link here, this link, and then it is going to take you out to a very brief 5-question quiz. So you would enter your secret code, make sure you put your first, last name, and also make sure you put your email address, because that is how the certificate will be auto-generated to you. So as long as you get 80% or higher, then you will get the certificate. If you don't get it the first time, then you can always retake as many times as you need to retake the brief quiz. So you would just answer the 5 questions that are here. And then just say, what are some ways that you would consider using Google Tour Builder in the future? Always interesting to see people from different subject areas and how they would use the different Google tools. Okay, and also let me just go to, for those accessing through Google Classroom, at the very top here, this is where you access the webinar video. If you scroll down to the very bottom, you will see the link to the webinar quiz. So that will also take you out to the quiz that you can take. Now, if you're in the Google Classroom and you wanted to ask a question about Tour Builder after the fact, what you can do is add a comment. So below the webinar video frame, you can click here, type in your comment, and then you can click post. So if you have a question for me, certainly you can email me. My email address, mkovach@e1b.org. Let me see if I go back here. It should be, yep, linked on the top of the presentation here on the first slide as well. But also, you can either, if you're in the Google Classroom, add a comment and post it. If you're in the Winnie Rick Online Academy, what you can do is scroll to the bottom, and then you can see there's a separate discussion here. So it's called Tour Builder Questions. You can just click there, and then you can start a new thread and then enter your question. So on just about daily basis, I'll check and see if there are any questions. I'll get an email for the Google Classroom. So I should be able to get back to you within 24 hours with your questions. I will be taking a little vacation for the February break, so there might be a little more than a day here and there, but rest assured I will get back to your question, and these webinars will be available for the remainder of the school year. Okay, so again, our secret code. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to email me. I hope that you find Google Tour Builder to be interesting and useful. Hopefully you can find some areas of your curriculum that you can use this for. And I hope to also see you in future webinars. I'd like to say a nice thank you to Como Park Elementary School for letting me use their beautiful library media center. And maybe I will see you here again or in another location. Thank you. Have a good night.